Welcome back, everyone, to Tarot Journeys with Guy. How's everybody doing out there? Now we're seeing the world erupt. Massive protests that have turned into riots in the UK for the last few days. It's actually ongoing. On top of that, we've got the other thing of the ramping up of the war with Iran, global markets collapsing or dipping, insiders making moves, right? And it's all kind of part and parcel of this globalist agenda to demoralize, to upset, to overturn, to destroy the Western cultures and the stronghold of the Western nations. And what we're seeing in the UK is right in step with the globalist plan to create upheaval and division and a state of civil war. Okay, we've been going on about this for months and months and months. The recipe for disaster is all being set, and for us here in North America and in the United States and in Canada, in the United States, this is sort of like telling of what could come, what could be in the near future, because all of the same circumstances are set up. Now, we've seen something very similar with the BLM riots in 2020, and how a lot of that in its contrivances and how it was created to trigger the other side as a trap. Okay, now and to sort of goad the patriot side, the people, into fighting back, into causing violence, okay, which didn't happen. People didn't fall for the trap fully. Now, J6 was another kind of thing with that, and people did kind of fall for it, but not fully. In the UK, it's kind of similar situation, but people have kind of fallen into the sort of the trap of violence and division, okay? And what we see with the globalist installed Keir Starmer Labour government that's in the UK right now is being very one-sided, a two-tier system being exposed. Once the violence and once the flame has been sparked, the clampdown is afterwards, and now they're cracking down on people and calling for further online censorship and protecting this failed policy, this United Nations migration policy of bringing in people from other places and from places that are dramatically opposed to Western culture, okay? And we know what we're talking about here, okay? And it's a powder keg, right? But it's right in step and part of their plan of creating a state of civil war, a global state of civil war, if you will. So, yeah, it's not good. And you see people being deemed far right and the straw men being propped up and blamed, where the blame is on the actual policy and the government purposely doing that. And, like the UK government isn't protecting their people. They're protecting a diverse class of people that are a minority. And then those people, and I guess the extreme elements of those groups are sort of going with that in inciting further violence and doing harm, okay? This was all sparked because of 3 girls being murdered by someone that's not originally from the UK. I'm not sure. I mean, a migrant family, but yet it snowballed, and and you can kind of see there's definitely a psyop aspect to this, and the creation of these factions. People have to realize you're being played, like whatever side you feel like you're on, right? Like, I mean, we're all being sort of played. There's a sort of a global machination, a global plan being implemented. That's why sort of on the sideline, like there's this over looming threat of World War III constantly, right? And now it's this thing with Iran, okay? And waiting for Iran to counterattack Israel for striking within Iran and taking care of the leader of Hamas, okay? And thing with Hezbollah in Lebanon. And, it's just this ongoing step-by-step encroachment, this forever war that they keep creating, right? Massive upheaval in Venezuela. The Venezuelan people were uprising as well because of a rigged election from the Maduro government, the globalist installed government there, the socialist government. And another thing that's foretelling for us in the West, foretelling of events that potentially could happen in the United States, okay? We've already seen this. Now, all of this too is part of a covering up the fact that deep state elements attempted to assassinate President Trump. And that's come out, a lot of evidence has come out very clear about a stand down in the security service, and just everything that we've been talking about. We know the playbook, because if you've been paying attention long enough, they've been sort of following the same sort of thing, right? So yeah, and I kind of knew this. We all kind of were talking about this way before, especially in 2020, how the more that they were going to get closer to an end game, the globalists, and the more that they were going to get caught, and the more that their system would be to sort of be taken away, they would go into maybe sort of like a hyper mode, right? And activate a lot of the latent sort of plans. So in that way, they can kind of create a continuance, whether their aim of coming together and creating like a globalist dictatorship, essentially a totalitarian global system, whether that worked or not, that they would push forward with, a forever war, a climate catastrophe, societal collapse, economic collapse, right? It's all sort of in their playbook. Thing is they're running out of ammo, let's say. But it's, this is kind of serious, right? Especially what we're seeing in the UK right now. So that thing is ongoing as I'm recording. I'm recording this on Monday afternoon. Hope to get this out in the evening of Monday or in Tuesday morning, okay? So this thing is ongoing, right? And people have to be just very vigilant and careful, in the UK, they're cracking down. They're cracking down for people posting online, and people that are on the Patriot side, on the people's side, right? This isn't a racist thing. This isn't a thing of white supremacy or any of that kind of stuff, right? This is a purposeful, created scenario, a division, what some people call like maybe a black swan event or something, but it's a staged event in a lot of ways, where to create division and societal disruption and collapse, ultimate collapse, so that they can install their own, or the next sort of phase of governance, right? And you're seeing what Keir Starmer was saying is like activating facial recognition, online censorship, going after one group, protecting another. This is all kind of part of the globalist agenda, okay? And that's yet again another sort of test for the rest of us that are sort of sitting on the sidelines and watching, right? And that's part of it. We were being activated, but thing right now is really a call to peace, right? A call to not fall into their trap. They want this totalitarian like clampdown, a martial law state, right? So we can't feed into it. We can't fight these guys, no matter how it may appear, right? So, and many of us know that, like all the audience, people that watch me, we get that. And so, right, and that's kind of like the ongoing thing, is sort of like grounding out that energy and sort of drawing up our own field, our own consciousness, to sort of rise to counter some of the frequencies and the vibrations that are ongoing with this, right? So, and to sort of transmute that energy a little bit better, right? And then when we go into the world, not to get caught in that divisiveness and that fight, even though, yeah, this isn't a time for sitting on a fence, but I really do see it as, you know, it's this deep state, this globalist deep state, global scenario versus the people, right? Now, as the globalists have been sort of caught, these New World Order, World Economic Forum types, the world is broken off into this geopolitical situation, right? Where globalist entities are now fighting each other, okay? But it is a human versus the totalitarians kind of scenario. And that's what people really need to get, like, boots on the ground. You can't really blame people for being really upset and acting out, but it's not doing anybody any service, right? We need to sort of activate in other ways, right? This is where channeling that energy into different forms is really important. I'm not always sure how that is, right? I'm not in a position to sort of say. I'm more in a position to, I guess, spiritually maybe recognize the scenario, right? And maybe to, you know, in this sort of online battle, this space that we've created, right, is to sort of maybe offset the, you know, this other side's sort of aim to eradicate the human spirit. Yeah. So that's how I see it, you know. So we're going to lay out some cards, check out what's going on, what do we need to hear, global situation, global update. There's other things going on in the world. I mean, people in Europe are activating as well along these lines. They're really noticing this open invasion. It's an invasion. You're being invaded. We're all being invaded in a sense, and it's our own governments that are doing it. And so somehow the people that are coming over to the West, the migrants, they also have to figure that out somehow, right? It really is kind of like we're all being sort of played and used, you know. It's kind of a simple sort of equation in the West. I've always kind of have known this. I've always been an advocate of this. It's like, stop messing with the rest of the world. Stop bombing these countries. Stop creating wars. Stop getting involved. Right? But this is what the 20th century has been, you know, leading into our time, you know, and our societies in the West, our civilization, our culture, in some ways, in the modern sense, has been based on this. Okay, so it takes a lot to unravel it, and it takes a lot to sort of figure out how to kind of put some of it maybe back together, right? But the thing is, it's like, it's not humans unraveling this. This is from a higher level, and that's what we, I guess, need to sort of keep in tune with, and that is the real plan, right? And to follow in line with that. And so part of that is always this spiritual growth and development that is sort of taking place, right? And spiritually, from how I see it, we've chosen to live in these times. We've chosen to be here. And in so many ways, it's part of the spiritual process that we have chosen to take part in. And it is about a continuation of consciousness of that spirit. So what's next? What do we need to hear? What's sort of on the forefront here? So much stuff going on, you know. And then maybe we'll hone it down. But let's just see. Let's see what we need to hear first. All right, so here we are. 4 of Pentacles in the center part here. It's so funny. Okay, so he's holding on to his money, right? And like, the 4 represents the world. Okay, so it's everything in the material world. Okay, so in many ways, what he's holding is the world, and that is in some ways, that's us. We're holding the world together. And that's a way to sort of maybe even look at everything that's going on. We aren't individually taking on all of all of the problems of the world. No, that's not what's supposed to happen. All of us collectively are taking on those, right? But if we hold that world and we see it in a certain way, that's what will become of our worlds. Okay, that's one thing. But holding on, being guarded, right? This is a good time to sort of wait and see. Now, you got to keep in mind this reading is definitely for the next couple of days. So, we got to wait and see. This thing with what's going on in the UK is ongoing, man. They've sparked something, okay? We knew that this was going to happen. And it is part of their plan, okay? That system, the last money system, is done. And we are going to see, this is part of the next part of that battle, is like, what is the next money system going to be? How are they going to tank the system? How are they going to reset the system? Are they going to be honest about the system? No, I don't think so. I think it's of such a degree that both sides of this battle at the top, wherever they are, both recognize how challenging it is to take that entire world course and just shift it. That's not how it works. No matter how many quantum computing systems and AI-driven algorithmic, artificially intelligent systems that are analyzing this, there's this random factor. There's this factor within the system itself that cannot be measured. That's what this is like their holy grail, okay? And they don't know it. They just don't know it. They can only use it to manipulate and to coerce and to confuse, and that's it, right? And that's one thing that we're probably going to see, okay? This thing with people being activated, it's about being more actively involved in our present systems. We've been asleep for so long. What do you think the asleep thing is about, right? It's literally, we've been asleep. We've been asleep, allowing other people to steer the vessel. Now, I'm saying this, and this is what the message is, okay? Because how it pertains to the world is different than with each individual, right? Because how it really comes down to is what we have, this golden opportunity to reclaim our spiritual sovereignty, like our full sovereignty of being, okay? How that spreads out into the world, well, that's another story. That's something else, okay? But that's kind of what we're talking about. This is part of that battle of freedom versus totalitarianism, okay? Of these people that don't want freedom, that want to enslave the world, that want to depopulate humans, right? And all of that stuff, okay? Interesting how that one card, but I'm kind of talking from these two cards. The time is not to fight, but to be activated. Do not fight. Walk away from the fight. Walk away from any kind of conflict or any kind of thing like that right now. It is definitely a part of a trap that we're all being sort of like pulled into, and it's not going to work because so many people are sort of tuned into this, okay? Globally, right? This is kind of part of what is needed. Awareness is really important right now, and I mean, being sort of really honest with the scenario and the situation that we find ourselves in is what really serves us. And it's not good, right? They've created, like, a mess has been created in our societies, and it has to be cleaned up somehow. And so a lot of this, what's coming out, it's sort of part of this. It's part of this thing of waking us up. Yeah, we saw with the opening ceremony, okay, in the Olympics, This is what we saw with I think it was the closing ceremony in the 2012 London Olympics, of basically the globalists basically spilling out their plans, like predictive programming styles, like there's going to be a pandemic and we're going to lock everybody down, and there's right and I think there was like protesting and getting people used to this idea of what we went through in 2020. Thing with this Olympics was this idea of revolt, and like they showed the image of the palace with the Marie Antoinette and holding her head in flames, okay, and things blowing up, and kind of like the French Revolution, okay, and the 1812 overture kind of styles, right, except modern. I think there was something else going on, but see, and then the thing with the pale horse and the harbinger of death and hell and war and famine and pestilence and destruction, okay, and that's kind of what they're saying, okay, and twisting reality, and that they're getting people prepared for that notion, right? And this is what they're sort of saying is like, yes, this is what we're doing next, okay. It is going to be an onslaught of the progressive bearded women. That's just right. This is what we have to sort of accept, right? But it's a lot more than that. That's sort of being crass, okay? And it's not very funny, actually. I mean, I like to take these things with a bit of levity, but woof, man, no, it's not. But it's there to sort of show us, like, okay, yeah, this is what they're going to do, right? And so people are going to just think that this just happens. There's a certain segment of society that thinks that this is just happening, right? Like if there's some kind of like blackout, like global blackout, which they've already, like the CrowdStrike thing that was just recent was sort of like a preliminary to that. If that were to happen, they have this plausible deniability, like, oh, this happens because of these systems we've created, or hackers from Russia, Iran, North Korea, or white nationalist types from X country, wherever, right? Because that's what they're doing, is they're creating the fall guy, the straw men to blame it on. And in some ways, what we're seeing in the UK is the people falling for the trap, and they're going to clamp down, right? But it is a powder keg. It's like it has to happen, and that's kind of what I'm seeing, and I've always sort of have seen, is that there's certain things that the course is already set. There's certain things that have to come into being, and this civil unrest is one of those things. And the people and what we need is we need our leaders to step forward and to sort of still the flames, to still the anger, to redirect it, and to direct it in a more positive and I guess maybe more politically active. I'm not sure, right? It's foretelling of what's going to happen in the States and what's coming to North America in some ways, okay? And in the rest of the Western world, what's going on in Europe, right? Same deal. Yeah. And that's the thing, it's yeah, it is one of these things where it does have to get really dark before the dawn. What else do we need to hear? What's next? What's on the horizon in the next couple of days? What do we need to be prepared for? And what's going to help us? And so, yeah, what we're sort of looking at is this amping up the monitor, like amping up the frequency of the pressure, right? We're seeing a war brewing, right? Like we're seeing this thing in with Iran and the Middle East kind of expanding. Like I keep seeing this sort of like slow, right? And part of what the pressure is it has a lot to do with the people more closer up to the top and how they're making it's kind of like these people, like the warmongers, they're being caught. Some of them are not on side with like some of the globalist sort of agenda, right? And so like there is this switching of sides, right? But yet, yeah, they're amping everything up, like what we see here in the Nine of Swords, right? To deflect from the crimes of the deep state, their like illegal attempt to take over the coup that is actually taking place like in the US right now. The same thing like in the UK. People aren't talking about that. They're talking about this, like the riots, the protests, the armed gangs of like, military age men that aren't originally from there, running around with sticks and machetes and knives, right? That's what they're talking about, which is serious, right? So you got the 3 that are running through the top and then the 6, right? But the truth is that it's going to get way more serious. I mean, the UK is basically taken over, same as Canada. Is it? We're not really sure, but we're so distracted by all these other events, right? We can't tell. We can't get together enough to, and there's this constant media blitz around, label confirmation of the people and deeming them evil, deeming them the enemy, and then covering up the fact that the government themselves are the ones that are going after the people, okay, and doing illegal acts that are not democratic against all the constitutions that have been sort of prepared in the Western world, right? Basically, the governments have openly declared war on their people. Their own people. They favor these outsiders and deem their own people as terrorists and racists. That doesn't make any sense. And they're doing this everywhere, right? It makes sense when you understand the globalist agenda, you understand the United Migration Policy and what it's there for. The the World Health Organization treaty plans. I mean, it goes on and on. The list of things that have been sort of uncovered, things are being deflected, It's crazy, right? And so like the thing within the States is this nomination of Kamala Harris and just how much of a liar and a criminal she is, but just her deep state ethos and how, having her as a president is going to be worse than Joe Biden. She's more of a puppet than Joe Biden, if that's even possible, okay? But that's the cover up. That's what this is all, and the 3 real concerns really elude people because all of everything that's happening is so fearful, right? And yeah, this card, the 9 of Swords, reminds us to not allow fear to get the better of us and to address the things that are actual, but yet to actively clear away the other swords, which are like a fog that kind of perpetuate, right? And so, it's like 3 and 6. So 3 is a number of communication, of keeping things light, but also 6 is putting things in order, right? And so sometimes people do have to order their thoughts. I meditate. Meditation is really key, right? And when I talk about the visualization and stuff, that's also a part of it. But I literally give myself space and time to clear my mind, to stop the internal dialogue. No visuals, no anything. Clear. Breath and clear. And I do it sitting, I do it laying, I do it walking, I do it when I'm working, I do it when I'm cleaning, I do it, the sitting meditation is really key. Sitting meditation is what has actually helped activate a lot of things afterwards for me, like as far as like finding stillness and peace, okay? And that's kind of what this is talking about. But we have to realize that this is part of the design, and some of this has to sort of play out, right? We don't have to feed into it. And that's what we have to be careful of, is feeding into their sort of machinations, right? Their traps, their disinformation traps, misinformation traps that will turn into disinformation traps. Using it to label us as all the different isms, let's say, okay? And so where this leads is we've got the major arcana, right? And it's sort of leading us to the world, okay? And like when we get the major arcanas like this is sort of like an ongoing process. This is a big process that's been triggered, right? And we have to keep that in mind. And it's not just going to happen overnight. That's one thing, but you got to not feed into the fear factor, right? That's what we have to remind ourselves, is that, holy cow, man, there are sort of elements within the people, right? There's elements that work within the infrastructure that don't jive with the globalist agenda, and they're working to sort of take it apart, okay? And like, it's you and me, it's all of us, and we have to sort of be active in that way. We have to sort of activate, and we have to like not buckle under the pressure, right? That's part of it. Yeah, it's like you gotta, right now it's really like important to connect with people that are of like, that you are similar with, that you find connection, that you find a cord that you trust, family, like for instance, right? Yeah, that's like a super sort of important thing right now, is finding those kind of connections. That's always something that comes up in reminding everyone, right? And like, part of this thing is that they're trying to sort of capture people's minds, right? This is a battle for the mind, battle for the heart. And so they're trying to capture people's attention with, you know, like, we're on the right side, we're helping people out, we're the charitable group, we're protecting you, right? And realizing, we have to realize that they're not, that these people that we've voted in, these people that we've allowed into places of power and government and foreign policy, are against us, and they're not good. This isn't a good thing. They're purposely creating a state of civil discord, and it's like an infiltration. We are undergoing a stage of a global coup, but it's like an infiltration and an insurrection, and you're seeing an open invasion. Like, this thing in UK we've been harping on it for a while. People in the UK can't really openly talk about this. Freedom of speech doesn't exist per se anymore. Not sure if it ever did. Most places don't have a First Amendment like in the States, right? And so we need to speak out. We need to continue to kind of keep on that tip, right? Keep on that forward momentum of, and not let this kind of stuff to sort of drag us down, I guess, right? Is a big part of it. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. And it's exciting. These are exciting times, man. Like, unbelievable how much has happened even in the last few months, in the last few years. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And rest assured that the power groups that have sort of always been sort of in control are positioning themselves to be always in control. And it really is a battle for that, a battle of control of our future, of our destiny. That's what I believe. Okay. Yeah, what we're seeing is truly like what this death card really talks about, the death of the old and the beginning of the new. The transformation that is taking place, okay? Yeah, I talk to most people about all of this stuff I've had for a long time, and in hushed tones, people say, yeah, no, this isn't good. But like, how are you in public life, right? Like are you speaking like that in public life, right? We need to find each other out there and to speak up and to activate. Okay, what else? The world. I was going to talk about the world card actually from the last spread, right? And then it popped up. Now remember, the world card refers to us moving into a new world, into this an Aquarian age, into the age of Aquarius. And I'm not talking about all the cheesy and hokey stuff that has been pushed. Some of it, the impulse of unconditional love, yes. The enlightenment that comes with that process, yes. The art, the beauty, the knowledge, yes. That's what we're looking forward to. This is what we are. We are the seeds for this. We are the seeds, and we are blooming of the next civilization, of the next age, and we are witnessing it. We are bearing witness to what is taking place now. Whether we are entering fully into that age and now or into the next couple hundred years, it doesn't really matter. We're experiencing the end of what some people have called like a dark age. Okay, so this is what we got to remind ourselves and to look into it more. Yes, a part of that whole Aquarian impulse in the 60s was co-opted. Yes, it was, but it wasn't created by them. It was created a long time ago. It started way before the 60s. Okay, and there are elements that energy still exists. It's still there. It's just things have grown, things have changed, things have shifted, okay? And, expecting immediate results right now, do not. Take part in the levity more, the energies that are lifting, the awakening energies, right? Put your attention there. Queen of Cups, she's very nurturing, right? It's a real blessing in our lives when we have the Queen of Cups in our lives, and she helps nurture us, okay? And she helps tell us when to you need to calm down, you need to eat well, you need to, those things, right? You need to look after yourself better. You need to, put a warm towel over your head and go to bed right now. And here, let me help you. I don't know. To me, those are nurturing things, right? But she's so in touch. She's in touch with her inner nature. She's in touch with the divine feminine. And she's in touch with the intuition. So she really knows what's needed right now. Okay. And we need to really get in contact with her and listen. Just listen. Listen to what your inner voice is telling you right now and really pay attention. Follow through with it, right? This is always the message. This is always the message. Always, always, always. This is kind of a sign of moving away from the dogma of religion and entering into the truth of true spirituality. Okay? A big part of the problem is the social engineering around religion right now, the religious engineering, the religious dogma coming from both sides of the situation that you're seeing in the UK. Okay. And it's to get to the spiritual truth of it, right? It's the same with ideology. This thing of religious dogma and political ideologies, same, different. It creates a division, and it only will bring about violence, okay? In those kind of concepts, yes, there's philosophical truth and wisdom and understanding, but it's not in enacting false belief. And that's what's really needed, the spiritual, getting to the spiritual heart of the matter, okay? Yeah, the human field of consciousness is in such upheaval that regardless of what things may look like out your window or like in the world, the true appearance of things is of a spiritual nature, and it's really just humans, all humans on a spiritual level calling out for help and calling out for healing and calling out for love. And it's very serious, okay? And in some ways, reflecting on that definitely helps I reflect on that all the time. Actually, that's a big part of my prayers. Thing is to not feel kind of hopeless in that scenario of like, we can't stop this. No, but energetically, we do have this ability to ground out this energy and to sort of transmute it, and we will see things miraculously change if we maintain that. But we also have to have a clear connection with divinity, with source, in that we have to be good with it. We can't be lying to ourselves, right? And that's a big part of it, right? And so that transmission of energy, that's how a lot of us are taking part, like I've said before, it's like time to get active in our communities, in with our groups, helping where we can. If it's a volunteer scenario, volunteering is good, right? Get politically active. But we have to utilize all that is available to us as far as like the democratic system and peaceful, right? This is a big thing, and we need to call for it. We need to stop. No more division. The division is created, it's manufactured. The civil disruption, the societal collapse, it's manufactured. It's time for people to wake up to that. Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed. Please take care out there. Hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.